What's good, sports fans? Are you ready to elevate your live entertainment experience? Well, let me introduce you to SeatGeek, an amazing platform that connects you to your favorite events while saving you money. With SeatGeek, you can easily find tickets for sports games, concerts, and so much more, all in one place. The interface is user-friendly, making it simple to browse and compare prices. And one of the best features is the interactive seating chart. You can see exactly where you'll be sitting and how much you'll be spending, ensuring you get the best value for your money. But here's the best part. Check this out. By using my promo code, ChalkItUpSports, you can enjoy a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. That's right, $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Imagine catching that thrilling game or concert without breaking the bank. It's a win-win situation. Plus, you'll be a part of a community of fans who eat, sleep, and breathe live events just as much as you do. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description to download the SeatGeek app today. And don't forget to use my promo code ChalkItUpSports for a one-time $20 discount on your first SeatGeek order. Get excited. Now let's get back to the show. What's good, beautiful people? This is your boy, Tone DeShields II. You guys are tuned in to another edition. What is this? Tuesday? A Tuesday edition of Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II, like I said before. And if you're new to the show, please get comfortable. Make sure you guys lock in. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the show. I do not take the support for granted. This thing doesn't move without the power of the people. So make sure you guys exercise that power. Make sure you guys exercise your privilege and your opportunity to be a part of this community. So you guys know your Philadelphia Eagles are moving forward in the playoffs. And not only are they moving forward, our next opponent has been revealed. And I watched that game last night. Vikings, Rams. I watched it till it wasn't watchable anymore. Let's just say that. And the Rams took care of business. Now, granted, the game didn't take place in Los Angeles for obvious reasons. You know, we're sending our prayers. You know, we're sending our condolences to people who've lost loved ones, who've lost their homes due to the catastrophic forest fires going over in the city of Los Angeles. So the Rams weren't able to really do what they needed to do back home. So they had to they had to transition the game. They had to pretty much move everything that they were going to do from Los Angeles, from Inglewood to Arizona. Arizona hosted them last night, and it was still a home game for the Rams, but it just didn't take place in Los Angeles or Inglewood. I say again, but the Rams took care of business, and they pretty much dominated the Vikings from beginning to end. It really wasn't a competition. The game wasn't ever really close or really wasn't ever in doubt. It just seemed like the Rams and the Vikings were playing at two different speeds, and it jumped off the screen. It was obvious. You can tell the difference in the level of quarterback play. And you know, some people had their preference on who they would rather see in the divisional round. Some people said I'd rather see the Vikings because I know Sam Darnold is a duck. Some people will say, I'd rather see the Rams because I know we can take it to them. We did it once, we can do it again. So people had their own reasons for who they wanted to play. But nonetheless, we are going to be playing, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be playing the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern time on NBC. So it's going to be a really fun game. Some of my quick observations from last night's game is that both of those offensive lines, in my humble opinion, can be had. The Rams' offensive line can be had. The Vikings' offensive line obviously was able to be had. And I told people all year long, I said, listen, don't trust the Vikings. Yes, they're winning games. Sam Darnold is on this Cinderella run. Don't trust them. I told people this. Do not trust the Vikings. Some people said, Tone, I don't know. They look legit. You had some people in the national circles saying Sam Darnold is better than Jalen Hurts, saying Sam Darnold is this. Sam Darnold is a top 10 quarterback now. You know, it's time we accept this new version of Sam Darnold. First of all, for Sam Darnold to go from zero to hero like this, you couldn't really take it that seriously. You know, he was insulated by a pretty good supporting cast, and he's gotten some phenomenal coaching, probably the best coaching he's gotten since being in the NFL, right? But regardless, he did the work leading up to that moment. And prior to week 18, when things really didn't matter as much, he was lights out. But the moment you put him in the game that mattered, the moment you put him in the game where he actually had to win it because of the ramifications, week 18, for the number 1 seed, lost that game miserably, actually. Then last night, the wild card matchup was awful. Sam Darnold turned back into exactly who I knew he was, and that was a quarterback that can't hack it when it matters, a quarterback that has bad habits when things aren't necessarily going his way. He turned back the clock as if he was still in New York with the Jets. It's just that simple. But nonetheless, the Rams dominated. Their defense was playing fast. I believe their defense generated like 9 sacks, damn near 10 sacks on the night. Forced strip sacks for a touchdown, and interception. They were just wreaking havoc on Sam Darnold and that Vikings offensive line. They were just bullying him. And on offense, I mean, Matthew Stafford did exactly what he was supposed to do. You know, I think they came out fast. They came out strong on their opening drive, which was really important. I think that's what stood out as well, right? How fast the Rams got it going in the air. First play of the game, Matthew Stafford finds, who was that? Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua? I can't remember. I think it was Puka. Maybe it was Puka. First play of the game, he finds Puka for a 27-yard reception. And then following that, he finds Tyler Higbee for a 23-yard catch. And then it was pretty much curtains from there, man. You got to give Matthew Stafford credit for taking care of business the way he did. Matthew Stafford last night, 19 for 27, 209 passing yards, averaged over 7 yards an attempt, 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions, got sacked twice, a 117.7 passer rating compared to Sam Darnold's 25 for 40, 245 passing yards, averaged 6 yards an attempt, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 9 sacks for a loss of 82 yards, a 76.6 passer rating, and he also fumbled as well. So this game really wasn't a test for the Rams. They weren't really challenged. That Minnesota Vikings offensive line was average, just above average at best. They have a player or two on there, but overall, this isn't going to be an offensive line that the Rams face when it comes to the Eagles. This isn't going to be a situation like the Vikings. The Eagles' offensive line, as it compares to the Vikings' offensive line, it's night and day. It's no competition. It's water and oil. It doesn't mix. It's fire and ice. It's two different elements. You feel where I'm going with this? They've adopted the dark. We were born in it. It's levels to this thing. So when I think about the Rams and how they're constructed on the offensive line, they're athletic, they're fast. Well, not the offensive line, excuse me. The Rams' defensive line. The Rams' defensive line was able to take advantage of the Vikings' offensive line. But what stands out about that Rams' defensive line is how young they are, how athletic they are. You got guys like Kobe Turner, Jared Verse. You got Braden Fisk. They got guys on that defensive line, athletic guys, young guys that were just getting after it, right? And it got to a point in the game where they just benched their entire defensive line because, they knew they won the game already and they were going to have to do some traveling and they wanted to recover as quickly as possible. But I watched that Eagles-Rams matchup before. We all saw that with clear view. Although that Rams defensive line is athletic, they're young, they're up and coming, they're talented, they don't have the size. They don't have the size to be able to put up with the Eagles offensive line for 4 quarters. We've seen what that looks like. Listen, you can scheme it up however you want to scheme it up, right? And the Rams were doing some different things last night against the Vikings because at that point, they saw blood in the water and they saw that they were able to tee off. You're not going to be able to tee off against the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. You're just not. You're not. That offensive line is the elite of the elite. Arguably the best offensive line in football. I say the best. Some people will say Detroit. Argue with your mama. I'm taking my guys over anybody. But I saw Jared Verse go up against Lane Johnson. Wasn't pretty. I saw Braden Fisk go up against that Eagles interior. Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton. No dice. I saw all these guys, Kobe Turner. I saw these guys go up against this Eagles offensive line. So I don't really care what they can scheme up. I don't care what they think they're going to do. They're not big enough. In the NFL, big guys beat up on little guys. And it's not just that the Eagles have the size advantage. You have all pros and Pro Bowlers sprinkled all over that offensive line. So, for one, are they going to be able to really get consistent pressure on Jalen Hurts? I doubt that. Are they going to be able to really stop the Eagles' rush attack consistently? I doubt it. I don't think they will be able to hold up for 4 quarters. I don't. And as a matter of fact, that Rams defense, it's young, it's up and coming, they're talented, but their strength is the front 4. And if that front 4 is not able to dictate the terms of engagement, they will be had. I stand by that. We've seen it happen. We played them in their own stadium, SoFi, one of the only indoor-outdoor stadiums in the NFL. Very innovative. Beautiful place, I hear. When we played them, it was a beautiful, clear LA sky. So I think they had the roof open. But they play in a dome, essentially. Let's call it what it is. They play in a dome that can retract and open the roofs or whatnot at their leisure. They can decide, oh, it's a little chilly out. Let's close that thing. Oh, it's raining. Let's close that thing. They can decide that. When you're in Philly, you have no choice when it comes to the elements. You got to come to our side of the tracks. You see, this is going to be a tall task. And I'm going to get to your super chat, you guys. I'm going to get to all your comments. Make sure you guys continue to smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the show. It means a lot. This is going to be a tough go of it for the Rams. For obvious reasons, they had to fly to Arizona, so they were disrupted. Then they got to go back to Inglewood, go back to L.A. I think they just got there like 3 a.m. or something like that. And then they got to fly all the way over to Philly on the East Coast on a short week. The Eagles been resting, focusing on the main thing, cleaning up some of the dirt. They don't have to travel. Lincoln Financial Field is not for the faint of heart. And look, Matthew Stafford is a tried and true quarterback. He's built for the playoffs. He's a Super Bowl champion. Matthew Stafford is the man. I love Matthew Stafford's game. I love watching him play. He has two amazing wide receivers like Kupp and Puka Nacua. Has a solid tight end in Tyler Higbee, who missed most of the season, but he's come back and he got hurt again last night. So who knows what his status will be when that game starts. He got banged up a bit. He was having a really great game last night too. 5 catches over 50 yards. He was having a great game, but he got hurt. I'm not exactly sure what the injury was. Let me double check it here. I think it has something to do with his chest, if I'm not mistaken. Tyler Higbee says here, Rams coach Sean McVay said after the Rams wildcard win over Minnesota on Monday that Higbee is in the hospital and in stable condition due to the chest injury he suffered during the matchup. Stu Jackson of the Rams official site reports. So he had to go to the hospital last night. On top of that, they lost their starting corner, Akilo Wood, where it says here, Witherspoon exited Monday night's wildcard playoff contest against the Vikings with a thigh injury and was doubtful to return. And then Bobby Brown III, their defensive tackle, was questionable to return with a shoulder injury. So you're missing you may miss your starting tight end for the game. There's a chance you may be without your starting tight end. He had to go to the hospital last night. That's not a good sign, in my opinion. And then Witherspoon, your starting corner, didn't come back to the game last night. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember. It said he was doubtful. I can't remember if he came back last night. I can't remember. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It is what it is. But your starting corner is banged up. Your starting tight end is banged up. And Matthew Stafford was hitting him quite often yesterday. So he still has Cooper Kupp, still has Puka Nacua. Don't get it twisted. And Puka Nacua, last time we played them, he had a pretty decent game. He wasn't able to take over the game, but due to the volume of targets and receptions that he had in the previous matchup, he was able to have some pretty good numbers. Last time Puka Nacua played the Eagles, he had 9 catches on 13 targets for 117 yards. He averaged 13 yards a reception. Cooper Kupp had 11 targets on 8 receptions for 60 yards, for 7.5 yards per reception and a touchdown. So you were able to keep those guys from really cracking the game open. Both of those guys had a 29 and a 27-yard reception, respectively, between them. So they had their one explosive play of the game. But for the most part, they weren't really. Sorry about that, you guys. Sorry about the disruption. But anyway, none of those Rams guys were really able to take over the game. They weren't really able to. They really weren't able to really crack the game open. So, and also we got to put this in perspective too. The Rams really only had like 2 really solid drives against the Eagles. Like the first drive. Matter of fact, let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. Their first drive when they played the Eagles, they were moving the ball, they were effective. But then they fumbled in the red zone. We got the ball back, and we had to settle for a field goal. Then they got the ball back, they drove 9 plays, 70 yards for a touchdown. So now it's 7-3. Rams lead. Then we punt it. They punt it. We shut them down. Then we got the ball back. We kicked the field goal. They punted again. We scored a touchdown, 12-7. I'm sorry. We scored a touchdown, 13-7. Our defense shuts them down. They got a punt. Ultimately, we go into halftime with the 13-7 lead. Our first drive, 1 play out of halftime. Saquon Barkley takes it 70 yards for a touchdown. Eagles lead 20-7. Rams punch back, though, with the 8-play, 70-yard touchdown drive of their own. The game is 20-14. Then Saquon, I'm sorry, then and then the Eagles have their own 8-play, 70-yard touchdown drive. Kenny Gainwell was able to get in for a touchdown, right? So now the Eagles lead 27-14 in the third quarter. Rams dropped the ball, but they missed their field goal. Eagles get the ball back. We kick a field goal. Now we lead 30-14. We lead 30-14 with, I want to say, what is this? 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So now we're up by 16 points in the fourth quarter, 30-14. They get the ball back, they punt. 10 plays, 13 yards. We get the ball back, 6 plays, Saquon takes it to the crib, 72 yards. Eagles win 37-14. And then, then the Rams get the ball back, 8 plays, 68 yards, 37-20. But at that point, the game is over. They got that garbage time touchdown. So you can make an argument we beat them 37-14. The score says 37-20 nonetheless. So the Eagles dominated that game from quarter 2 to quarter 4. Both teams started off slow. Both teams had one scoring drive in the first quarter. The Eagles defense shut the Rams down for the entire first half and part of the third. Like, all I'm trying to say is, yeah, the Rams, they're talented. They got the receivers, right? They got the quarterback. But I think their offensive line can be had. And their defensive line, as talented and as athletic and as promising as they are, I don't believe they can consistently beat the Eagles' offensive line. That Rams defensive line, they had a luxury of going up against that Vikings offensive line last night. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. So I don't want last night's game to be a barometer of what the Rams actually are. I was watching that game. The Rams, yeah, they were able to take advantage of short fields, turnovers, right? They were able to take advantage of a crappy quarterback in Sam Darnold. Jalen Hurts is not getting sacked 9 times. Jalen Hurts is not taking 9 sacks. He's not. Jalen Hurts is not going to throw an interception and fumble. He's not. So when you put it in perspective that way, the Eagles fans should feel very good about this matchup. Very good about this matchup. The Rams defense isn't the Green Bay defense. Hell, the Rams defense isn't even the Vikings defense. And I understand the Vikings defense didn't have their best game last night. But in all reality, let me make sure I got this right here. In all reality, how many points did that Rams defense really give up last night? I mean, that Vikings defense really give up last night. So they gave up the touchdown, so that's 10 points. Let me see this. Then the quarterback fumbled for a touchdown. So 17 points, 20. Okay, so that Vikings defense ultimately gave up 20 points last night to the Rams. The Rams offense was only able to generate 20 points, their offense. They got a gift from their defense with a touchdown. The Eagles are going to generate more than 20 points. And the Eagles aren't going to turn the ball over. That was just a very, very awful game by the Minnesota Vikings offense, more specifically Sam Darnold. Their defense was on their heels for the whole game. They really didn't have a chance. They really didn't have a chance because of the way that quarterback was playing. So, although Sean McVay is a mastermind, I will never disrespect Sean McVay, ever. He's a mastermind. Matthew Stafford, a masterclass at quarterbacking. He's one of the best quarterbacks of his generation. That's a fact. Whether you want to admit it or not, he is one of the most talented guys, right? But let's not pretend Matthew Stafford is having or has had his greatest season, right? Let's not pretend the Rams have been world beaters all year long. That hasn't been the case. They won their division because their division is whack. And they're very talented. They're young, but they're talented on the defense. They're very cheap on defense, but they're young. They're talented on the defensive line. If that defensive line is not getting home, if that defensive line is not stopping the run, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. And I fully expect the Eagles, Jalen Hurts, Kellen Moore, Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo, Jeff Stoutland, I fully expect the brain trust on offense to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, we kept it very vanilla. We kept it very vanilla in that opening game. And if you and based off of the pace of that game, you can tell that the offense, although they weren't humming, they had unwavering trust in their defense. And the defense ultimately knew the offense would make enough plays. But when your defense forces 4 turnovers, you got to take advantage of that. The Rams did. Whenever the Vikings turned the ball over, the Rams took advantage of that. They turned it into points. And the Rams were given short fields quite often last night. Just saying. Just saying. When Sam Darnold threw that one interception, the Rams weren't able to score off of it. So the Vikings defense did step up. But the fumble touchdown, you can't do that. That's when this game was over. That's when this game was over. The moment he fumbled for a touchdown, this game was over. Because the game was in striking distance. The Vikings defense was keeping them in it. The score was 10-3. Sam Darnold threw an interception. The defense was responded. They held them down. This dude was taking sacks for this brother was running backwards. Sam Darnold was running backwards. He was afraid to throw the football. Jalen Hurts is nowhere near that bad. No, Jalen Hurts gonna make a play somehow, some way, be it with his legs. Jalen Hurts is good for taking a sack or taking a couple sacks. He's good for that. But he protects the football. He'll throw the ball away or he'll make something happen with his legs. Jalen Hurts is not a statue. I'm just really confident in this team right now. Some people aren't. I don't get it. I just don't get it. You know, we have enough people outside of the city, outside of Philadelphia, counting us out. Why would you lean in to the nonsense? And speaking about the Eagles offense, right? I want to pull up a tweet from somebody I respect the utmost. I respect their football acumen. I respect their football mind. And that's my man, Gate City Sports. He tweeted something earlier today that really, really stood out to me. And I really enjoy when Gate City breaks down the film and whatnot. Let me zoom in on this. I know it's kind of hard to read. All right. So I retweeted it, right? But I want to go to what he said. But before I do that, I want to give him his flowers. Gate City Sports is one of the best. One of the best. And I want to give him his flowers right now because he really put things in perspective. I wrote here, Eagles fans, Gate City Sports Talk. His name is Steve Hyder. Eagles fans, Steve Hyder is arguably the best source when it comes to knowing why your Eagles make the decisions they do on the football field and on the sidelines. The offensive game we saw versus Green Bay was vanilla and likely for a reason. Please read the thread below. Let's get to this thread. And also, we're going to talk about the defense as well. Obviously, Nakobe Dean is out for the remainder of the season. Likely, he'll start the season in 2025 on the PUP list. Vic Fangio says there's a strong chance we may see Jeremiah Trotter Jr. in this upcoming matchup against the Rams. It makes sense. Oren Burks being on the field would be an instant mismatch, and it would overly expose our flaws. Jeremiah Trotter Jr., versatile, athletic, rangy, can cover. That might be the better decision because he's athletic and has the speed. But nonetheless, we're going to talk more about that later on. I want to get into this thread by my man Gate City Sports Talk, Steve Hyder. He says here, let's talk about the Eagles' offensive play calls and rhythm from last week. Excuse me. He says, we were streaky as an offense. Jalen, there was a point in the game. He says, we were streaky as an offense. And there was a point in the game where Jalen was 6 for 6, then 0 for 7, and then 7 for 8. Let that sink in for a second. Let that sink in for a quick second. There was a point in the game where Jalen Hurts was 6 for 6, like we saw to start. Then he went cold in the second quarter going into the third. And then he got back on track, ending the game going 7 for 8. So did Jalen Hurts have a rough patch in that game? Yes. But for people to pretend like he was awful, for people to pretend that he was a liability, it's nonsense. Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Sam Darnold. That's what you call a liability. Those are liability cases. Between Sam Darnold, who turned the ball over twice, Jordan Love, who turned it over 3 times, and Justin Herbert, who turned it over 4 times, that's 9 turnovers. 9 turnovers between 3 quarterbacks. And people want me to be concerned about Jalen Hurts. When we saw what it looks like when a quarterback is hurting you on 3 separate occasions, Justin Herbert was hurting the Chargers' efforts, wasted a really good defensive performance by his team. Jordan Love was hurting his team, wasted a really good defensive performance by the Packers. And Sam Darnold was hurting the Vikings. I feel like that Vikings defense played good enough to win that game. So, Jalen Hurts, on the other hand, didn't make mistakes, threw 2 passing touchdowns, had a passer rating of 111, didn't have the most yards, right? Didn't have the most yards, went 13 for 21, not the most pass attempts, but he also tried to make some things happen with his legs. And he also missed nearly a month of football prior to that playoff game. He missed nearly a month of football and came in and did what he did. So people got to remember, and I promise you guys, I'm going to get to all your super chats. You got to remember, when you're in the protocol, you're not able to be around the team, the facility. You're not allowed to look at film. You're not allowed in any real training sessions until about, what is that? Phase 2 or phase 3, maybe. I think he wasn't able to practice until about Thursday and was limited. I think Thursday or Wednesday so Jalen Hurts was already behind the 8 ball in terms of preparing for the opponent. I want to continue to read what Gate City had to say before I take over this thing. He says, let's talk about the Eagles' offensive play calls and rhythm from last week. We were streaky as an offense. Jalen was 6 for 6, then 0 for 7, and then 7 for 8. He started strong. He closed strong. Jalen has been special all season long in the fourth quarter. He's number one. He's the number one passer in the fourth quarter since the bye week. We ended on 3 scoring drives and 1 clocked possession, meaning that we just ended the game. Remember, Saquon could have took it to the crib, but he decided to slide and we took a knee. But ultimately, we ended the game on 3 scoring drives. Touchdown, field goal, field goal. We were moving the ball, and whenever Green Bay tried to respond, Jalen Hurts drove down the field and got points. Now we got to turn those field goals into touchdowns. You feel what I'm saying? So, nonetheless, Jalen Hurts has been special all season long in the fourth quarter. He's the number one passer in the fourth since the bye week. The Eagles ended on 3 scoring drives, which was a touchdown and 2 field goals, and 1 clock possession, which was the Saquon slide. Let's continue with the thread. Gate City also says, excuse me, you guys. Gate City also says, let's be real about our final possession. Saquon Barkley could have taken that ball to the house. That would have been 4 straight scoring possessions to close the game. We closed out with a lot more offensive momentum than we've been credited with on television. I'll say that again. I'll say that again. Let's be real about our final possession. The Eagles and Saquon Barkley could have taken that ball to the house. He decided to slide, remember. That would have been 4 straight scoring possessions to close the game. We closed out with a lot more offensive momentum than we've been credited with on television, on national television, national television to be specific. Let's continue with the thread. Gate City says, to the play calling and how Kellen Moore called the game. From play-by-play on first down, Kellen Moore called 19 rushes and 5 passes. Those were all the first down plays in the game for the Eagles. 19 rushes, 5 passes. Around 3 of those rushes were by Jalen. We have to watch to see if they were designed runs or scrambles, though. Basically, what he's saying is, yeah, Jalen ran the ball 3 times on first down. He has to double back and watch the film to see if they were design runs or scrambles. He says, I'm not surprised. 45.74% of the runs were on first down for the Philadelphia Eagles this season. That's number 1 in the NFL. 45.74% run rate on first down for the Eagles. So the Eagles have a propensity to run the ball on first down. That's number 1 in the league. Let's continue with the thread. He says, this is a tough game to analyze play calls on. Jalen couldn't watch tape until he was in phase 2 of concussion protocol. And I'm not sure when he cleared phase 2. He couldn't practice until Wednesday, where he was limited. This felt like a generic game plan because of it. I'll read that again. Jalen couldn't watch tape until he was in phase 2 of the concussion protocol. And he's not even sure, Gate City that is, he's not sure when he cleared phase 2. No one is really. He also couldn't practice until Wednesday, where he was limited. And this felt like a generic game plan because of it. So I say again, Jalen Hurts was behind the 8 ball when it came to preparing for this matchup. Maybe that's why the play calling was vanilla like we saw it to be. Let's continue. And I think this is his final tweet. No, we got a couple more. And again, shout out to Gate City Sports. Shout out to my man Steve for doing amazing work like he always does. He says, to the specific play calls that Kellen made that made me scratch my head as an Eagles fan. The 3rd and 5 to Saquon. I'm not critiquing getting a playmaker in space. That makes sense. However, we wouldn't let the pass rush get upfield and drop off a running back screen behind it. Dougie P special. I'm with him on that. I'm not against getting a playmaker in open space. But you got to get him a better opportunity than that. You got to let the play develop. He also says here, Gate City, then looking at the Eagles' play calls, there was the general nature of trying to not get. Excuse me, let me read it again. He says, then looking at the Eagles' play calls, there was the general nature of trying to get way too vertical. The Eagles were trying to get vertical all game. He says that 0 for 7 stretch, remember at the beginning, where he said here, there was a point in the game, Jalen went 6 for 6. Then he went 0 for 7. And then things got cleaned up and he finished the game 7 for 8. So that second quarter to beginning of the third quarter stretch where he went 0 for 7, let's explore that. Let's dig deeper. Gate City talks about it here. He says, there was the general nature of trying to get way too vertical for the Eagles. That 0 for 7 stretch during the second quarter and the first possession coming out of the half featured some really long developing plays. Kellen and Jalen made the adjustment, but man, he's right. He's right. He's right. There was a point in that game where we questioned the routes, the pass concepts, that second quarter, the first possession of the third quarter. We were like, what's going on? Like he said, though, they ultimately made the adjustment, which goes back to Jalen Hurts finishing the game going 7 for 8. Gate City wrote, I thought the check made by Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert for the touchdown was one of the best decisions of the game. Remember, Jalen Hurts was at the line of scrimmage. They were in the red zone. I think they were around the 20, 23-yard line, something like that. The Rams made it clear that they were sending the house. It was a 0 blitz at Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts saw it coming, made a check at the offensive line, and got the ball out of his hands quickly to Dallas Goedert in the flat, giving Dallas Goedert a chance to make a play. He says, I thought the check made by Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert for the touchdown was one of the best decisions of the game. Coming back from concussion protocol, not knowing how much time was spent with tape, and with a limited work week, Jalen Hurts was great in that particular moment. He says, and this is his last point, his last tweet. He says, last point about Kellen Moore and how he called the game. On third down, the Eagles were 2 for 11 on the game. Terrible, no doubt. On third down, 6 of 11 of the plays were above 7+ yards. I believe 4 of the 11 were above 10+ yards. It felt like we wanted to avoid turnovers. 6 runs, 5 passes. Trust your defense. So this seems like one of those games. This seems like one of those games where your quarterback was dealing with his own version of a short week. And the game plan had to reflect that. Now, you're going to have people who have their own opinions about this. That's totally okay. You're going to have people who vehemently disagree with Gate City. You're going to have people who talk about Jalen Hurts and talk about the Eagles with emotion. You're also going to have people who've already made their mind up about Jalen Hurts, right? We're not talking to those people, quite frankly. I didn't go through my man Gate City, aka Steve Hyder. I didn't go through Steve's tweet thread to convince people who've already made their mind up. I do what I do, or I did what I did, because I highly respect Steve's football acumen. He calls it how he sees it. He uses the eye test, but he also uses analytics as well. He studies the film. He's also a former football coach. I think he used to coach quarterbacks in high school. And I also think he coached at the University of North Carolina or South Carolina, or I can't remember. But I know Steve is stamped. Gate City knows the game. And he will not make anything up to just support the team he likes. He's very pragmatic. He's very realistic and very objective about what he sees. So when he says something like this, when he tweets something like that and provides context to what happened in that game, I'm going to listen and I'm going to respect his opinion. He's way more intuitive when it comes to the game than I. When it comes to the film and the route concepts and knowing how to coach quarterbacks and whatnot, he's much more intuitive than me in that realm. So I like to lean on the smart people in that regard. The smart people I trust, that is. Not people who are doing it for clicks, not the people on national television who just trying to keep their ratings above water, because people are really losing faith in national media and they're relying more so on content creators like myself. We're relying more on content creators like Gate City, Lord Brunson, Simone Stanley, Philly Mike, Philly 500, Joey Shakes, right? Mike Sports Vibes, DJ Eastwood, or RB. You know what I'm saying? Who else? Philly. You dig what I'm saying? Bird Gang 31, and there's so many people I can name. And if I didn't name you, it's not because I don't respect your work. It's a lot of people that I respect. And I just, the point I'm trying to make is people are losing faith in the national media. At this point, people watch it strictly for entertainment, not for information. So again, you can do what you want with the information. You can do what you want with the information. But when Gate City, when Steve Hyder provides information, I stamp that. I stamp that. So as it pertains to Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore and what we saw on Sunday, I think the overall game plan, again, a layman speaking about the situation, I believe knowing what we know about Jalen Hurts going through the concussion protocol and how you only can get through you only can start watching film once you get to phase 2, and we don't even know when he got through phase 2, and then he was limited on Wednesday, and then full participant Thursday, Friday, and all that kind of stuff. Like, he was behind the 8-ball in preparing for this matchup. And I think going into this game, the offense felt like, okay, we're not going to run the most complicated game plan because we're behind the 8-ball. We're going to rely on our run game. We're going to rely on our defense, and we're going to rely on our talent to convert and beat their matchups. So that's ultimately what ended up happening. We're going to have a conservative game plan. We're not going to take too many chances. We're going to protect the football. We're going to control time of possession. And we're going to dictate the outcome and dictate the terms of engagement with our physicality. And that's what you saw. I also think it was good for that defense to be in a game like that this early. The game that was close. You needed to carry the water a little bit, right? The defense, and shout out to Oren Burks on special teams for forcing that fumble, the defense was able to start playing the game with the lead. they were able to pin their ears back a little bit. They were able to play a little bit more free because they were given a 10-point lead by the offense. But then things got a little hairy. Defense stepped up. Offense got a little cold. Defense continued to step up. Offense put up more points little by little, creating more distance. And you win the game. Your defense forces 4 turnovers again, or your defense forces 3 turnovers. Your special teams forces 1. Ultimately, you want to put more points up on the board when you get that many turnovers, when you get that many opportunities. You want to take advantage of that. You want to take advantage of that. But I'm not concerned. This is my opinion. I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned. Not one bit. Jalen Hurts missed nearly 3 months of I said 3 months. Lord have mercy. He missed 3 games, but he missed nearly a month of football. Not the worst. Not the worst. And he did what he did. No turnovers, by the way. We've seen multiple quarterbacks. We've seen 3 quarterbacks, without a doubt, hurt their teams and what that looks like. That's not Jalen Hurts. It's not him at all. It's just that simple. But I'm really looking forward to the matchup this Sunday against the Rams. It's going to be really, really exciting. We've played them before, and I just believe that their defense, as talented as they are and as promising as they are, they're really led by that defensive line, right? And I just think their defensive line, they're not going to be able to hold up for all 4 quarters against that Eagles offensive line. I think Saquon Barkley has a day. I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a day, and Jalen Hurts is going to continue to be efficient, going to be much more effective in the passing game. He's going to be more effective for sure. And also, by the way, in that Packers game, our offensive line didn't even play their best. They actually had a couple moments of miscommunication where they actually let the blitz, let the pass rush get through. So the Eagles offense didn't play their best game, and you still beat the Packers by 2 touchdowns. You beat the Packers by 2 touchdowns. So that's why I don't understand when people say you barely beat them. We beat them by 2 touchdowns. It would have been 3, but we spared them. It would have been 3, but we spared them. Like, can people do math? 12 points, that's 2 touchdowns. That's not barely beating somebody. Did it look a little funny to some of you guys? Absolutely. It looked funny to me. But when you think about it, you beat them by 2 touchdowns. That's not barely beating anybody. We made mistakes. We left a lot of food on the table. Let's be honest. That game was close because we left food on the table. I don't think that happens again. I really, really don't. We forced 4 turnovers, but nonetheless. It's okay. It's all right. Like I said, I'm not trying to convince anybody here. It's not my job. It's not what I want to do, actually. I'm here to give you guys my spin and also entertain while I do it. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. It means a lot. Let's see where we are here with the like button. Let's double check our metrics here. So we got over 390 people in the stream, only 124 likes. Hey, you guys, let's try to get 300 likes on this live stream, right? Let's also try to get 300 likes on people who are watching after the fact. Some of you guys may not be able to watch the live stream in real time. I really do appreciate all of you guys who also double back on YouTube. You double back on Apple Podcasts. You listen on Spotify. The show is brought to you by SeatGeek. Promo code Chalk It Up Sports. You can get $20 off. You can get $20 off your first SeatGeek order using promo code Chalk It Up Sports. All you got to do is click the link below in the description. Download the SeatGeek app. Create your account. On your first order, use promo code Chalk It Up Sports, and you'll get $20 off your first SeatGeek order. Not bad. Not bad at all, especially with the playoffs coming up. You know, if you're a basketball guy, if you're a hockey guy, you know, the Flyers and the Sixers are in full swing, right? And maybe you can knock some money off that. Maybe you can knock some money off those playoff tickets for the Eagles, right? So make sure you guys continue to support the show. Again, let's get this thing to 300 likes, you guys. We got over 300 people in this live stream. Let's try to get this thing to 300 likes, y'all. That's the goal for today, 300 likes. You know, and that goes for everybody. If you're watching on your own time, if you're tuned in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, make sure you guys also give me a review on Apple Podcasts. Give me a review on Spotify. Make sure you guys follow. All you got to do is search Chalk It Up Sports. All the content is always available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify within the hour after the live stream ends. So make sure you guys support the content. All right. Let me get to these super chats. Because I've been reading some of you guys' comments in passing, right? And you guys are going crazy. You guys are going off right now. Oh man. Some of you guys are funny as hell. Like really, really funny. And look, it's a lot of you guys in here that I disagree with in many ways, in more ways than one. But I gotta admit, a lot of you guys are hilarious. Like yo, my man. yo, my man Desert Eagle 90 is hilarious. Hold on, I gotta zoom in on this. Y'all know Desert Eagle 90. Y'all know him. Look what he said. He just tweeted me this. Shout out to my man Desert Eagle 90, yo. He's another Eagles content creator. Family man. Does a great job being the man of his household, man. That's my man, Desert Eagle 90. Shout out to him. Shout out to him. He said, Tone, people going to war in your chat. They are, man. I love it. I love it, man. I love it. It adds to the show. It makes it more exciting. You know what I mean? As long as you guys, you know, don't get too nasty. Don't get too muddy. Don't get too muddy. Other than that, talk all the trash you want, man. Just don't get too muddy. Shout out to my man, Desert Eagle 90. It's my guy. Shout out to my guy. Let's see here. I'm going to get to these super chats. Oh, my dad is here. Hey, listen, y'all. Shout out to my dad, man. My dad is the man. My dad is like, my dad is my hero. My dad is my hero for reasons that I will not mention. My dad is my hero. One of the most resilient men I know. What my biggest supporter, arguably, well, he's my second biggest supporter. My wife is my biggest. Because she know this bringing the bills. You know, this pay the bills, this pay the rent. So my wife is my biggest supporter. My dad is my second biggest supporter. Maybe him and my mom are tied. Let's put it that way. My dad and my mom are tied in second place as being my biggest supporters. My wife, she's the number one supporter. Number one. Number one. But shout out to my dad, man. Hardworking man. It's funny, my dad has really helped outfit this office, by the way. My dad is part of the reason why, you know, my content, while my office is as dope as it is. My dad got me this Eagles neon light for my birthday, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. And he also got me the Jalen Hurts frame right here. The signed frame by Jalen Hurts. And he also got me this Jalen Hurts artwork right behind me, the Spectre art. Shout out to Spectre Art, man. Spectre Art is doing amazing work with Brian Dawkins. Spectre has done artwork for Devontae Smith. Spectre art is one of the best in the city. So, yeah, my dad, man, my dad's the truth. My dad really, really looks out, man. This globe is from my father. It's from my grandfather-in-law. He passed away. He passed away last year. He passed away in 2023. He passed away in 2023. My grandfather-in-law. He gave me this before he passed. And great man. Great man. Love him to death. And this one right here, I bought this myself. Shout out to Desai Art. You guys know Desai Art. She does a bunch of artwork for the Eagles, the Phillies, the Sixers. Her style is like comic booky. You know what I'm saying? Like her style is comic book inspired. Desai Art is amazing. I bought this from her. I bought this from her during Jalen Hurts' first year as a starter. She does amazing work. If you guys are familiar with Desai Art, she's spectacular. She's spectacular. So, yeah, man. And my wife and my mom, my brother, my family, they put it on this new desk I got, this L desk and the chair. They really hooked up my studio for sure, man. They hooked up my studio. So my family really is invested in this thing. This is a family affair, you guys. So this thing I have here, it doesn't work. It doesn't work without my family. Doesn't work without my family. And I'll even give credit to my previous employer. My previous employer supplied me with the Shure microphone. You know? So look, man, I have no problem giving people their flowers, man, no matter how things ended up. Have no problem giving people flowers. Nonetheless, though, enough with the pleasantries. Thanks, Dad. I appreciate you. I love you. Let's get to the super chats. Y'all going crazy right now. Anyway. Y'all going crazy. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. Shout out to Jacob Sports for showing love in the stream. I appreciate those guys. I appreciate those guys. Gave me an opportunity. I ran with it. You know, sometimes things don't work out, which is fine. That's life. But sometimes it's not about what you do when you got the ball. Sometimes it's about what you do when the ball is no longer in your hands. Are you going to go play defense? Are you going to set screens? You know, are you going to box out and get the rebounds? You feel what I'm saying? So I have nothing negative to say about Jacob Sports. They gave me a shot. Helped me expand my network. I learned a lot. Working for them. Met a lot of dope people. Had the pleasure of covering the Maxwell Awards, where I met Jalen Hurts, Brian Dawkins, Brandon Graham, Jonathan Taylor for the Colts, Brian Westbrook. I have no I learned a lot. So I'm grateful to Jacob Sports, for playing a pivotal role in what I'm building here. Shout out to those guys. All right. Let me get to these super chats, you guys, and let's try to be nice, man. You guys are going crazy. Let's try to be nice. You guys are vicious, man. Vicious. All right. So Ace Boogie with the $4.99 super chat. He says, I think you guys should do more than one episode of the Link Up every week. I prefer watching y'all than these other shows. Appreciate you, Tone. Hey, shout out to my man Ace Boogie. I appreciate the love and the support. Hey, you never know, man. When the off season comes, you never know. You never know, man, what may happen during the off season. So keep your eyes peeled. You never know. All right. Thank you for the super chat, Ace. Des, one thing. He says, damn shame what we about to do to the Rams. Hashtag let's hunt. Shout out to Dez, man. Thank you for the super chat. And you're right, brother. I don't know if you guys have ever had Ram before. You know, have you guys ever had Ram? It's pretty close to lamb. You know what I'm saying? If you've had lamb, you've had Ram. I heard Ram is delicious this time of year. Shout out to Dez. Shar with the $4.99 super chat. She says, I don't know who they signed that made them forget Saquon ran for 2 football fields on them. Yo, you're right, man. Saquon went off against those guys. Like, it wasn't even funny. It wasn't even funny. It was almost abuse. It was abusive. It was abuse. It was abuse. Saquon ran for nearly 300 yards. It was abuse. Thank you, Shar. Ace Boogie back again with the super chat. He says, we also got to talk about this Hurts hate. Shaking my head. It's got to be something deeper at this point. I literally watched Shady and them call the Ravens Super Bowl ready because they beat the Steelers. Hey, listen, man. They dominated those boards. Listen, I'm not going to say anything bad about the Ravens. They dominated the Steelers. And that was a divisional game. Also, we broke the Steelers. The Steelers haven't been the same since they came to Philly. They haven't been the same since Jalen Hurts smoked them boys. So the Ravens were kind of taking advantage of a dead dog already. But nonetheless, it's a divisional game. Those other guys get paid too. Anything can happen in the playoffs. So I'm not going to discredit the Ravens because they beat the Steelers. I'm not going to do that. But I do agree that I do believe Jalen Hurts is getting unfair criticism for his performance on Sunday. You would think Jalen Hurts played like Justin Herbert or played like Jordan Love or played like Sam Darnold. You would have thought he played like that, but he didn't. Granted, Jalen Hurts was not spectacular, though. We're going to be honest. Jalen Hurts was not spectacular. He was not great. He was okay. He was okay. He was fair. He didn't hurt the team. He threw 2 touchdowns. He had a high passer rating. He started off strong. He ended the game strong. He got a little cold in the second quarter and early third quarter, but he started strong and ended strong. Didn't turn the ball over. He didn't hurt the team. So he has to have a sharper performance. I'll say that though. He has to have a sharper performance. Kellen Moore has to have a sharper performance as well. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say Jalen Hurts, doesn't deserve any conversation had about him. That, I'm not saying Jalen Hurts shouldn't be talked about. I don't mind when people criticize Jalen Hurts as long as it's within reason. And that's another misconception about maybe me, maybe about some Eagles content creators. Listen, I can only speak for me, right? I can only speak for me. But it just seems like, I've seen people give fair criticism of Jalen Hurts. Fair. And I'm like, okay, you're right. I can't argue with that. You're right. Then I've seen people just jump off the tightrope. Jump off the tightrope. You know what I'm saying? Just tables, ladders, and chairs. They hell in the cell. They jumping off the cage. Losing their mind. So it's just it just blows my mind sometimes. I don't think anybody is above constructive criticism. And that's the difference. There's a difference between constructive criticism and destructive criticism. Jalen Hurts gets largely destructive criticism. When, quite frankly, he's had a more successful career than most people they compare him to. All they can really say is, well, he's carried by A.J. Brown. He's carried by Devontae Smith in that O-line and Saquon Barkley. He's carried by all these guys. And, he has a defense and all this kind of stuff. Well, Jalen Hurts, for 2 of the seasons where he's been a starter, he didn't have a defense. He didn't have a defense in 2021. He didn't have a defense in 2021. He had a defense in 2022. Didn't have a defense in 2023. Now he has another defense in 2024. So that's that part. And I've never been one to criticize a player for their organization's decisions, good or bad. I can't get mad at Jalen Hurts because he has an organization that's committed to winning. It's going to do whatever it takes to make sure his job is done well. If I was a Chargers fan, I would be livid. For allowing Justin Herbert to go into the season with Ladd McConkey and Quinton Johnston. Ladd McConkey was a rookie this year. He played better than Quinton Johnston. Quinton Johnston, the TCU wide receiver that they drafted a couple years ago in the first round, has been a liability and has been inconsistent and has been somebody you can't trust. The Chargers let what's my man's name? Why am I blanking on his name? They let Mike Williams go. They let Keenan Allen go. They let Austin Eckler go. What did you think was going to happen at some point? Now, Jim Harbaugh coached his ass off. The Chargers were able to generate a running game with J.K. Dobbins and whatnot. They took the ball out of Herbert's hands, threw the ball less. They felt like he's a better quarterback when he doesn't have to throw the ball well over 30 times a game. They wanted to keep him in that 20 range, 25 to 29 range, something like that. Had a career year in terms of efficiency. They were winning games. Made it to the playoffs. And then Justin Herbert wet the bed in the playoffs. And now we want to talk about the weapons he doesn't have. Now we want to talk about what he doesn't have. I'm not trying to hear that. And let's get to the Packers, right? Now, the Packers, on the other hand, they are a team that's committed to winning. But I think they've gone far too long with the receiver core that they've had. Jordan Love needs a legit number one, but also outside of that, Jordan Love has to stop turning the ball over. I think he had 11 picks on the season. Then he threw 3 interceptions in the game against the Eagles. I mean, what are we doing? I don't care who your receiver is. You can't throw 3 interceptions. I don't care who your receivers are. You cannot throw 3 interceptions. That's blasphemous. That cannot happen. Sam Darnold had the weapons. Did what he did yesterday or last night. All right. Joe Burrow had talent on offense. The defense got worse progressively throughout his career, but is that really an excuse? I've seen Jalen Hurts take 2 different Eagles teams to the playoffs with terrible defenses in 2 separate seasons. Why was it so impossible for Joe Burrow, who had this MVP-like season? With the numbers he put up, man, I'm pretty sure if Joe Burrow would have made the playoffs, he's winning the MVP. The way he was playing. The way Joe Burrow was playing this season, if they made the playoffs or even won their division, he would have won. He's winning MVP. But I'm not against Jalen Hurts getting criticized. Just be constructive. Be fair about it. Be reasonable. That's all. All right. Thank you for the super chat, Ace. All right. Relative Time Works with the $10 super chat. Thank you, Time Works. It's my guy. He's always been supporting from the beginning. He said Jalen didn't just get cold. He got his bell seriously rung the one time he ran and didn't slide. You could see it plainly. It took him a quarter to shake the cobwebs, but ultimately he did. Yeah, he did get hit pretty hard in that game, right? And listen, sometimes the best way to shake off the cobwebs is to get your bell rung a little bit. sometimes the best way to get your way through a game or to knock the rust off is to get your bell rung. Take that first hit or two. You know what I'm saying? So look, yeah, man. It was a combination of things. I'm not going to just say it was all Kellen Moore. I'm not going to say it was just all Jalen Hurts. I feel like the honest, the fair way to break it down is Kellen Moore didn't do the offense any favors with the vanilla game plan, but also Jalen Hurts also has to do a better job as well at just taking more chances and finding that open guy. You know, but all things considered, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, a 111 passer rating, you know, didn't hurt the team. Started off sharp, ended the game sharp, had a cold spell and had a cold spell in the middle. The defense held it down. And you survive and you advance. Thank you for the super chat, Time Works. My man S. Blunt with the super chat, he says, I'm smiling looking at the growth. Over 400 people in the chat. Yo, man, S. Blunt, it's been a long time coming, brother. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing transition. And I appreciate you, S. Blunt, for being a supporter of the show. You've been rocking with me for a long time, my man. This has been a long time coming, and I'm just grateful. I'm grateful, brother. Bigger things to come. More content to create. I was up late last night thinking about something, you know, to take Chalk It Up Sports to the next level. Something a little bit more edgy, you know, because on Chalk It Up Sports, right? You know, we're not just talking about the NFL. We're not just talking about the Eagles, right? I want to expand this thing. You know, I want to expand it where we're talking about, you know, some entertainment. You know, we're talking about, some things in pop culture, right? Because the off season can get a little cold, right? So I just want to expand the content, and I know you guys are bought into me. So I want to continue to feed you guys in various ways, right? You know, just get creative about this thing, right? You know, where we are in 2025 when it comes to not only digital media but sports media. Sports media isn't just sports media anymore. You know, a lot of these sports shows, a la, Club Shay Shay and Nightcap. Who else? Cam Newton's podcast, 4th and 1. A lot of these, Chris Long's Green Light podcast. I really love that podcast. A lot of these sports shows are incorporating pop culture and entertainment and current events into the content. So I think we're going to expand this thing, and again, not only talk about the Eagles and the NFL, but we're also going to talk about some things in pop culture and trying to expand our horizons a little bit. Try to have some fun. Man. I'm thinking of an idea. For the channel. So you got to play around. You got to have some fun with it. Got to have some fun. And like you said, as Blunt, got to find out what sticks to your audience. Got to find out what sticks. Thank you for the super chat, man. And thank you for your support. Aloha, DC, my guy holding it down in Hawaii. My man. He says, let's effing go, Tone. I'm glad I could stop in today. DC, thank you so much for supporting the show, holding it down in Hawaii, man. I appreciate you. Thank you. Abe with the super chat. He says, because I don't donate, shout out to Dropout. Oh, my God. Come on, man. Abe, come on, dude. What was Abe, come on, man. You guys are crazy. You guys are crazy, man. Abe, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Abe. Thank you. I think it's funny that Abe and Ace are going back and forth. That's funny. Abe and Ace. That's funny. That sounds like a sitcom, doesn't it? Abe and Ace. Abe and Ace. Abe and Ace need to start a podcast, yo. Abe and Ace. Ace and Abe. Well, then again, you know what? Don't put me in that. Y'all might argue about who gets top billing. Y'all might argue about whose name is first on the headline. Abe and Ace, the podcast. Ace and Abe, the podcast. Hey, listen. Oh man, shout out to those guys. The new odd couple. That's funny. Thank you, Abe, for supporting the show, man. It means a lot. DC Trucker with the super chat. Hey, shout out to my man DC Trucker holding it down on the road. Shout out to him. And also shout out to my truckers, man. One of the reasons I've expanded this show to not only Apple Podcasts and Spotify, I want to make sure my truckers, my drivers, my people who are always on the road when they work, my people who maybe they work with their hands, maybe they work in the kitchen, maybe they're chefs, sous chefs, line chefs, whatever it is, right? If you're a job that requires you to be very present physically, whatever it may be, I wanted to make sure I had this show available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify because it's hands-free. You can lock your phone and still have it playing in the background in comparison to YouTube, unless you have YouTube Plus, whatever it's called. YouTube Red. What is it? YouTube Red, YouTube, I forget what it's called. But I wanted to make sure I took care of my people who are on the road. And they want to be hands-free. So that's why the show is available on Spotify and it's also available on Apple Podcasts. So make sure you guys go check that out and continue to smash the like button and make sure you guys continue to give some ratings, and make sure you follow on those platforms. He says, I thought the goal of every team was to put together the best team as possible. Bro, that's how I feel, man. I feel like the Eagles are the best team. And like the Eagles have been winning footballs by team efforts. Team efforts. You see, a lot of people in national circles want you to believe that everything is dictated by one position or one group, right? And every hand has to wash the other. The Eagles play complementary football. That's how they win football games. So I feel you, DC Trucker. I feel you on that. War, my guy. He says, and thank you for the super chat. He says, if we can get pressure on Stafford without pressure, then we should win this game with ease. Yeah, the Eagles, we like to rush 4. Before we decide to overly commit to a 5-man front or whatever, we like to rush 4 first. We rush 4, and we rely on our linebackers to slice through. So, yeah, I do believe you get some pressure on Stafford, you hit him enough, the football's going to start to sail. You know what I mean? DC back again. He says people that spend all day and night bashing Hurts is disgusting. He says Cilio and these fake Eagles fans. Well, look, man, I want to give a shout out to my man. I want to give a shout out to Cilio. I know a lot of people. I know Cilio can be polarizing. Let's say that. I know he can be polarizing. Trust me, I know. And he knows this. I tend to disagree with Cilio a lot. He knows this. I produced this show. I personally like him. That's just me, and it's because I had a relationship with him. So, I can understand it. I can understand if his style is not your cup of tea. I can understand that. I can understand that. But as far as the Eagles fans go, yeah, there are some Eagles fans who just overreact. They overreact, man, and I don't really understand it. Thank you, DC, for the super chat. War back again with a super chat. He says, if we can get pressure on Stafford without blitzing, then we should win easily. Yeah, well, that's our style, brother. That's our style, man. We don't really want to blitz. And I'm telling you, teams that blitz a lot, they really don't want to. You know who taught me that? You know who taught me that? My man, John McMullen. John McMullen was my man. He taught me that one. John McMullen said, listen, Tone, trust me, teams don't want to blitz. Teams would love to be able to get home consistently with 4. They would love it. There's a misconception that these teams that blitz all the time, they want to blitz. That's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. It's like, sure. I mean, there's nothing. Listen, there's nothing wrong with blitzing to throw curveballs, right? Every team blitzes here and there to throw curveballs. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to throw off the quarterback and give him different looks and whatnot. There's nothing wrong with sending an extra guy, right? Nothing wrong with it. But when you have teams who consistently blitz and they rely on it heavily, that tells you everything you need to know about what they think of their secondary and what they think of their front four. John McMullen taught me this. Teams in the NFL do not want to blitz. They don't want to have to dedicate an extra body to the pass rush. If teams were able to get home consistently with 4 guys, they would do so. That's why the Eagles, for the most part, stay in 4-man fronts, because they know they can get home with 4. They also know they can stop the run with those guys as well. They know they can generate enough pressure with 4 guys, and they occasionally send a 5th guy, right? I promise you guys this. I promise you. You guys, nobody gets timed out as long as you're not being disrespectful, man. But anyway, regardless, though, thank you for the super chat, Wharf. Teams don't want to blitz, man. I'm telling you that. Trust me when I say that. Teams really don't want to blitz. Please believe me when I tell you that. Believe me when I tell you. You think teams want to send a corner or a safety to blitz all the time? Or you think teams want to send always 6 guys? They don't want to do that because they're compromising coverage. They're compromised. Let me get to the super chat, and I'm going to answer some of your other questions too. Rel Blunt says, and thank you for the super chat, Rel. I appreciate you. He says, I'm looking forward to seeing Trot get on the field. Me too, man. The rumor is, Big Fangio was in his press conference today, and he said there's a chance we may see Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Sooner than what we think. So that'd be interesting. That'd be real interesting. Chris Scott says, Oren Burks. He says, is Oren starting or Trot Jr.? Well, we don't know officially yet. But I think Jeremiah Trotter Jr. gets to start. I think he's more versatile than Oren Burks is. Oren Burks, he's a bigger body, but he's better going forward than he is going backwards. I think Jeremiah Trotter Jr., he's better in coverage. You do sacrifice a little bit size, but you don't sacrifice athleticism. Nakobe Dean and Trout Jr. are very similar athletically. I would be really intrigued. To see Trout Jr. out there. Really intrigued. Because I think Trot Jr. next to Zach Bond is going to do wonders for him. We'll see. Ray Lester doesn't believe that Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is ready to start. We're going to find out, because now it's next man up. It's put up or shut up time. And if Vic Fangio believes that Trot Jr. gives them the best possible chance at success, he's going to play him. And also, you got to keep in mind the receiver core we're going to be going up against. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and possibly Tyler Higbee. You want a linebacker back there that you trust in coverage. You want somebody that has enough speed that can cover. And Trot Jr. is better in coverage than Oren Burks. I think we saw that. We saw how compromised Oren Burks can be. He's great going forward. He's really good in the run, but he was a little compromised. I'm not going to kill him though, because he's one of the reasons why that game went how it went, right? But I think we gotta get rid of the whole rookie label. At this point in the season, nobody's rookies. At this point in the season, nobody's a rookie. These guys are playing playoff football now. It's time to turn up. It's time to turn up. And I am very much willing to give Jeremiah Trotter Jr. a chance. Oren Burks had a phenomenal start. He forced that fumble. That's why I'm not going to kill Oren Burks. If you notice, I'm very respectful when I talk about him. I'm very respectful. I say he struggled a little bit, but Oren Burks set the tone. Oren Burks set the tone. You feel what I'm saying? He set the tone in that football game. So we got to give Oren Burks credit for that. He set the tone. You feel what I'm saying? But I think Trotter Jr. may be a better matchup for this game. He just may be. He just may be. So we'll see if he starts, though. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to who has the better week. Who has the better week? Who does Vic Fangio trust? It's going to come down to that. But don't worry, Oren Burks is going to be very active on special teams. Oren Burks, just because he ain't. One thing I like about Oren Burks, man, that dude, he don't give a damn where you put him. He going 100 miles an hour. I like that about Oren Burks. It doesn't matter where you put him. He's going to go 100 miles an hour, and he's not going to pull his punches. Make sure you guys continue to smash that like button. You guys are tuned in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge to the game. I'm your humble host, Tone DeShields II. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me, you guys. Continue to smash that like button. We're almost to our goal here. The goal for today is to reach over 300 likes. As of right now, we're at 236. We're at 236 likes right now. I want to get to 300 because we have over 330 people in the live stream. So let's try to get to 300 likes, y'all. That's the goal. And that goes for all of you guys that's even watching the show after the fact. Maybe you're not watching it live. Maybe you're watching it on YouTube when the stream ends because you couldn't catch it. That's totally fine. I appreciate that. Maybe you're listening on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. I appreciate that as well. Make sure you guys continue to stay locked in on the content. And I really do enjoy this. I really do enjoy talking to you guys, man. And it's so funny, right? As grateful and as humble as I am, I knew I would be here with you guys. I knew I would be here. And all it took was commitment and dedication from myself and earning the trust of you guys. So yeah, man, stay locked in. Miss Fanny, what's going on, Fanny girl? Miss Fanny is spectacular. Miss Fanny is awesome. I got a lot of love for Miss Fanny, holding it down in Ohio, holding it down. I got my in-laws live in Ohio. My grandmother-in-law lives in Ohio. So, and a lot of my other relatives through marriage live in Ohio. So I got a lot of love for Ohio. Miss Fanny, she says, and thank you for the super chat, Miss Fanny. She says, hey, Tone, Isaiah Rodgers should always be used as the punt returner. It keeps DeJean healthy, and Rodgers has some speed on him in that position, feeding time. Well, they do use Isaiah Rodgers on kick return. They did use him for that. And also, real quick, you guys, we haven't really talked about this. I want to give Isaiah Rodgers his flowers. Because there was a point in that game where Darius Slay went down. Now, he came back, but he tweaked something. I think it was his arm or his shoulder. Darius Slay went down, and Isaiah Rodgers came in, and they targeted Isaiah Rodgers right away. And he stood tall. They tried to take a shot on him in the end zone. And for one, he was in lockstep with the receiver. Isaiah Rodgers' foot speed is insane. His foot speed is off the charts. They tried to target him, and he deflected that pass in the end zone. You got to give a shout out to Isaiah Rodgers, man. He deserves his flowers. He's going to make some money this offseason. Somebody's going to pay him. Granted, will it be us? I don't know. I don't even know what Darius Slay's future is. But the way Isaiah Rodgers has played, man, I wouldn't be surprised if, and again, it depends on what happens with Slay, but I wouldn't be surprised if Howie tries to keep him in the building. But it's going to be hard, though, depending if another team tries to offer him something bigger. But I like Rodgers, man. Every time he's come in, unexpectedly, he's did his job. Every time he's been called upon, he's done his job. You know? Really came up big in that playoff game. Really came up big. Okay. Really came up big, man. Also, we got another super chat here. Okay. All right. Hold on one second. I'm working on a really important guest, you guys. Hold on, you guys. Sorry about that. I'm working on a very important guest. I think you guys are going to love this one. I think you guys are going to love this one. Give me 1 second. I'm responding to this DM. Sorry. All right. I think I just locked in a really big guest. Oh, man. I think I just locked in a really big guest. Oh, man. Oh, man. Thursday is going to be fun, you guys. Thursday is going to be fun. I just locked in a pretty big guest, y'all. Thank you, Fanny, for the super chat, too. Spy City says, Tone, I need that wrench. Spy, you my guy, man. You my guy. You know I got love for you. Shout out to Spy for the super chat. You know I got love for you, Spy. Antonio. Antonio. Yo, Ant. Hey, Ant, man. You you remember that? Hey, Ant, you remember that? Oh my God. Ant, you're not supposed to bring up old stuff, man. You're not supposed to bring up old stuff like that. But Ant Holmes, he says, told you, Tone. Roger, I said, told you, Tone, about Rodgers. You weren't feeling him in the preseason. Hey, look, man. It's not that I wasn't feeling him. I mean, you may be that's reasonable to say. I just thought Keely Ringo was the better athlete. But seeing what Rodgers has done this season has been really cool, man. Has been really, really cool. It's been really, really cool, man. Isaiah Rodgers has surprised me. And I like Keely Ringo on special teams. He's a hell of a gunner. Hell of a gunner, man. And you know, he still has some things to work on. He still has some things to work on technique-wise, but I think Isaiah Rodgers, he's clearly the more refined corner. He clearly has better instincts for sure. It's clear at this point. So, and you know, I appreciate you for reminding me for sleeping on Isaiah Rodgers. I appreciate you for reminding me that I slept on Isaiah Rodgers. Oh man. Well, this just isn't accurate, but I'm not gonna really I'm not gonna even respond to that. Tabletop Laboratories says, I'm a Washington fan, but good luck this week, Eagles. Let's rep the East and meet at the NFC Championship game as the two best teams in the conference. I like that, Tabletop. Good luck to you guys as well. Good luck to you guys as well. It's going to be a tough opponent for sure, but good luck to you guys. I mean that. I like Jaden Daniels. I like him a lot. You know, just because I'm an Eagles fan, it doesn't make it impossible for me to acknowledge great quarterback play. And Jaden Daniels is playing phenomenally. Phenomenally. A hell of a start to a rookie year. Hell of a start. You know, the goal is for him to be able to sustain it over his career. You know, that second year, that sophomore slump is a real thing. So it's going to be a challenge to see where Jaden Daniels takes it from here. Because now teams have a full season plus the playoffs now, a full season plus the playoffs of film on them that they can think about all season long. So it's going to be interesting to see where he takes it from here, but he's off to a phenomenal start. So good luck to you guys as well. All right. Let's see. Spy City says Ringo is not better than Rodgers. Honestly, I think he would be a liability on the field. I mean, at this point, Rodgers is better than Ringo. I mean, it's the reason why every time Slay goes down, Rodgers is the one that comes on the field. He's the one that gets picked. So, you know, it's the truth right now. I think Ringo has athletic traits that you love at the position. He just has to work on turning his head around when the ball's coming. And not biting on double moves. He has to be a little bit more of a disciplined corner. That's it. He has all the physical tools you want. Just has to be more disciplined. Because he has speed that you love. He has speed, and he's a big dude, long arms. So like, you just gotta, he still requires a little bit more refining. Shar says they try Rodgers every time he comes in. He comes through every time. That's true. And Shar also says Ringo doesn't seem to be as technically sound as Rodgers. Watching Rodgers maintain phase but receivers is tough. Yo, isn't it? Like watching Rodgers stay in phase is like, it's beautiful, yo. It's beautiful. The corners were on one in that game against the Packers. They were in their bag. They've been in their bag. And Martine says McMullen said Ringo was too handsy. That's true. He can be a little handsy. He's talented, but he's raw, and he just needs a little bit more refinement. I think Ringo next season is going to be really good. Dank Bergang says Ringo lacks the lateral quickness that Rodgers has. See, Dank, I don't think it's quickness. Bro. I really don't think it's quickness. I think it's stiffness. Like Ringo's one of the things that people were down on Ringo about in the draft is that he can be stiff in the hips. He can be a little stiff in the hips. Rodgers is way more fluid. Like Shar said, like Rodgers, his ability to stay in phase is it's beautiful to watch. It's really beautiful to watch. I think what you're seeing from Ringo is that lack of fluidity, that lack of smoothness in the hips. I think that's what you're seeing. BG31, my guy Bergang 31 was good. Shout out to you, man. So yeah, Dank, I think that's what you're seeing. Not necessarily a lack of quickness, but a lack of fluidity. in the hips, making it seem like he's a step slow or a step behind. Shout out to my man Bergang31 for showing love in the live stream. It's my guy. It's my guy, man. Oh my God. You guys are funny, man. You guys are funny. Dink says stiff hips were his issue at Georgia, but he's still developing. Absolutely, he is. He is developing. I like him as a developmental piece. I like Ringo as a prospect. Trust me. Akbar Divine says, Tone, how you feeling about Jalen right now? I feel good. I feel good about Jalen. He didn't have a great game against the Packers. You know, I'm not going to sit here and lie on my show and say he had a great game. I'm not going to say that, but I'm also not going to overreact and say he was awful. I'm not going to say that he's going to be a liability going forward. I've seen Jalen Hurts in 20 big games. I'm not going to sit here and just act like Jalen Hurts is just this liability all of a sudden. So I'm not going to say he had a great game. He had an okay. It was okay. It was fair. He did enough. He did enough to win that game. You know, my man, you know, Gate City put it best, right? He started off strong. He ended strong. What went wrong was that second quarter and the first drive of the third. The first drive of the third quarter. That's where things got a little wonky for him. Because you know, he started the game 6 for 6. Remember that, Akbar. He started the game 6 for 6. He started 6 for 6, and then after that, he went 0 for 7. And then he cleaned things up and ended the game going 7 for 8. So Jalen started off sharp, got a little cold in the second quarter and the first drive of the third. And then the rest of the third quarter going into the fourth quarter, he was sharp. And for me personally, I'm trying to put it in context. He missed almost a month of football. He barely played in it. He barely played in that Commanders game, barely played in it. So I'm going to give him great. So I'm going to say he missed 3 games. To be technical, you can make an argument that he missed. You can make an argument that he missed 4, 8, 11 quarters of football. He missed 11 quarters of football over the course of December. So I'm not tripping about Jalen Hurts right now. I think he's going to be sharper, better. I think the game plan was purposely vanilla and overly simple. I think this is one of those games where they said, you know what, we're just going to out-physical these guys. We're going to rely on our defense and our running game. We're going to convert and make key passes. You know, we're going to dictate the terms of engagement. And Jalen Hurts made enough plays to win the game. Keep in mind, we beat him by 2 touchdowns. Now, you did force 4 turnovers, though. You forced 4 of them. So you would expect your offense to capitalize off that a lot more. But they did it. And I think they'll be better going forward. I really do. I think it was also good for that defense to be in a game like that, though. It was good for the defense to be in a game like that. You know? And also, you got to give credit to the Green Bay defense for coming up with a hell of a game plan, for making things difficult for Jalen Hurts and Kellen. You got to give them credit. You got to give them credit. Also, in my humble opinion, I don't feel like A.J. Brown was getting the separation we're used to getting. He looked a little slow out there. No disrespect. Trust me, I think he'll be better next week for sure. I think he'll be better next week for sure, but it just seemed like he looked a little slow. I feel like if it wasn't for that knee, he would have been able to catch up to that ball by Jalen Hurts. He would have been able to catch up to that ball on the fake tush push or the fake brotherly shove, I prefer to call it. So I think I feel good about Jalen Hurts, Akbar. I'll say that. I feel good about him. I'm not worried about Jalen Hurts. I trust Jalen Hurts in every situation. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, Shady pissed me off yesterday, man. And look, I still got love for Shady, man. I'm not gonna sit here and just throw him to the wolves. You know, I got love for Shady. Shady did amazing things for the city. Um, One of the best running backs that this team has ever seen in the Eagles Hall of Fame. Um, leads the Eagles all time in rushing. Look, did Shady piss me off yesterday? Yes. Did I feel like Shady was being overly emotional yesterday? Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like he was not being reasonable. And that's just my opinion. I don't have nothing disrespectful to say about Shady. Nah. I'm not going to disrespect the man. I have nothing disrespectful to say about him. He just pissed me off yesterday. That's all. Sometimes people you love, sometimes people you like piss you off. It's the nature of life. Sometimes people you respect piss you off. That's all. And I got to be honest with you too. I don't like this whole thing that he does where like, oh, I want Andy Reid and the Chiefs to three-peat. I'm not trying to hear that shit. I'll be honest with you. Respect to the Hall of Famer. Truly, 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 truly. I ain't got nothing bad to say about him. But that whole I'm rooting for Kansas City to three-peat shit, nah, man. Miss me with that. Miss me with that. Miss me with that. Miss me with that. Like how you got us going to the Super Bowl, but you got the Chiefs beating us. Come on, man. Come on, bro. Is you with us or is you like which is it, man? Is you with us or you against us? I can't tell at this point. I can't tell. So, look, man, I also can't get mad at you guys for being pissed off at him. I really can't get mad at it. I did not like anything he said about the Eagles in that game. The Eagles in that game yesterday. I did not like anything he said. It really bothered me because I expected more from him. The fact that Acho was the more reasonable one on the panel in comparison to Shady when it came to the Eagles was alarming to me. It was alarming. And Ray, you're right. All season, I will say that too. He's been riding with the Eagles all year. I will say that. But he's always been funny money about Jalen Hurts. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care what nobody say. Ray Lester, you are right. He's been backing the birds all season. That's true. That's why I'm not going to go crazy on him like a lot of people are. A lot of people want to disown him, want to say he not really Philly, whatever it is. People are jumping out the window. He's been back in Philly all year. He had a day where he said some shit that was out of pocket. He should, and I voiced my opinion on that, and I didn't like it. And I'll move on. It is what it is. But Shady has been backing us all year for sure. That's a fact. But also all year he's been saying that I want the Chiefs to three-peat. So he's kind of been playing both sides of this thing. He's kind of been playing both sides of this, right? But it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is, y'all. Hey, Ace. Hey, Ace. Ace, I don't know what you're talking about, Ace. I don't know what you're talking about, Ace. I don't know what you're talking about. At all, man. I don't know what you're talking about, Ace. Oh my God. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, so I want to address something real quick. Where is it? Where's my man at? Here it is. Akbar says, Tone, I'm riding, but Jalen ain't that good, dog. We got too many weapons to be 30th in passing offense. Okay, so here's my retort to that. Right? So for one, to your point, the Eagles are ranked 30th in passing yards per game, right? So, okay. They're ranked 30th in pass yards per game. That's the truth. So you're not wrong about that part. They are ranked 30th in passing yards per game. They are also 32nd in the league. They're dead last in the league in pass attempts per game. So you're right about that. So you're right. You know, the passing attack is, as far as yards and attempts, is bottom of the league. You're right. Okay. I'll give you that. But now let's get into some other categories here. So the Eagles are 30th. They're 30th in the league in pass yards per game. They're 32nd in the league in pass attempts per game. Okay. Let's go to yards per attempt. Oh, wow. So although, and again, I'm simply responding to what Akbar is saying here. When it comes to, although the Eagles are 30th in the league in passing yards per game and 32nd in the league in pass attempts per game, the Eagles, and I'll bring it on screen because I love you guys. The Eagles are 7th in the league in yards per attempt. Isn't that something? A team that may not throw the ball that much. Remember, Baltimore, by the way, Baltimore is like 30th in the league in pass attempts per game. Baltimore is 30th in the league in pass attempts per game. I'm going to show you guys that, by the way. But although the Eagles are ranked last in the league in pass yards per game, and they're 30th in the league in pass attempts per game. No, I'm sorry. They're 30th in the league in yards per game, passing, and 32nd in the league in pass attempts. They're 7th in the league in pass yards per attempt. Also, let's get to some more stats since we're going to talk about them. When it comes to completion percentage, when it comes to NFL completion percentage, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles for the 2024 season ranked 8th in the league, completing 67.38% of their passes. Jalen Hurts specifically on the season is completing 68% of his passes. So the Eagles, as a team, remember, Tanner McKee played and also Kenny Pickett played. The three quarterbacks combined are completing 67.38% of their passes. Jalen Hurts alone, though, is completing 68% of his passes. So, sure, the pass attempts are down. The passing yards are down. Sure, absolutely. But the efficiency, the effectiveness, the potentness of the pass attack is still top 10 in the NFL. And when you put it in perspective, as it pertains to having a 2,000-yard rusher on your team, like Saquon Barkley, who's been a dog all year, context matters. Context matters. So let's go to Let's go to the top teams in passing yards per game. These are the top teams in passing yards per game. You got Cincinnati at 272, not in the playoffs. You got Detroit, 263, who are in the playoffs. You got San Francisco at 249, not in the playoffs. Tampa Bay, they were in the playoffs, but they got bounced in the first round. You got Atlanta, who didn't make the playoffs. Let's keep going. You got Seattle, 6th, didn't make the playoffs. Minnesota, 7th, made the playoffs, got bounced in the first round. So far, 1 through 7, 3 of them are playoff teams. 2 got bounced in the first round. So far, through the top 7 pass attacks in the NFL in terms of yards, 3 of them, Detroit, Tampa Bay, and Minnesota, are playoff teams. 2 of them got bounced in the first round. Minnesota, Tampa Bay. Let's continue. Baltimore, 233 yards a game. That's 8th. Buffalo, 9th. Dallas, 10th. Rams, 11th. So, Baltimore, they're 8th in the league. You know, Lamar is having an MVP season. Buffalo, they're 9th in the league. Josh Allen is having an MVP season. You know, Dallas, not in the playoffs. Rams in the playoffs. So let's just stay to the top 10, right? Let's do top 10, right? So when it comes to the top 10 teams as far as pass yards per game, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams who made the playoffs, and you got 5 teams that didn't. There are a grand total of 14 teams that make the playoffs. So numerically, that means 9 of the 14 playoff teams are not ranked top 10 in passing. All I'm trying to say is, most of the time when you're passing for a lot of yards and you're passing a lot, that means that your team is losing. And also, when it comes to the Eagles, they had a 2,000-yard rusher. A 2,000-yard rusher. The Rams are 11th. Kansas City is 13th. Green Bay is 14th. Washington is 16th. Middle of the pack. You know, Chargers were 19th. You know what I'm saying? Denver was 21st. I'm talking about teams that made the playoffs. Pittsburgh was 26th. The Eagles are 30th. But what's the difference between the Eagles and the rest of those teams? The Eagles had a 2,000-yard rusher. And then obviously, you know, the Ravens had what's my man name? Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry. Akbar, that is very easy for you to say. This is not Madden. It's very easy for you to say. It's not Madden, brother. It's very easy for you to say. It's very easy for you to say. And here's the thing, right? We're obsessed with passing yards. We're obsessed with passing yards. He says, my pushback is that they don't have AJ, Devontae, and Goddard. My pushback is they don't have Saquon. Saquon has been a freak this season. You feed that beast. You feed that. Look, bottom line, no, we can agree to disagree. It doesn't really bother me. But let's continue though, right? Passing yards, let's continue though, since we're talking about stats. Just saying. So we went through pass attempts per game, we went through the completion percentage, which is Jalen Hurts' top 10. I think, as a matter of fact, to be more specific to Jalen Hurts, make sure I got this right here. When it comes to completion percentage, Jalen Hurts is in the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm sorry. So Jalen Hurts is 12th in completion percentage, but he completed 68%. Well, hold on, wait. You can't count these other guys. Hold on, time's out. You can't count these guys. Let me fix this. See, there needs to be a game minimum on this crap. So give me a second. So Jalen Hurts, as far as completion percentage goes, and I'm talking about guys who are starters, right? So Tua is 1, Jared Goff is 2, Baker Mayfield is 3, Joe Burrow's 4, Geno Smith is 5, Jaden Daniels is 6, Kyler Murray is 7th, Jalen Hurts is 8th. So Jalen Hurts was ranked 8th this year in completion percentage, completing a career high 68% of his passes. So although the pass attempts and the yards went down, his completion percentage went up and his yards per attempt went up. Let's look at passing yards per completion. Let's see. Even though that's not really important, but passing yards per completion. Eagles average 10 yards, 10.5 yards a completion. That's a first down. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Really, 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 really good. And I mean, look, it's a 2-yard difference between 1 and 12. So take that with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, let's see here. All right. Passer rating. Let's look at that. Again, Jalen Hurts' numbers are down in terms of yards. Numbers are down in terms of passing touchdowns, and numbers are down in terms of yards per game, right? But yards per attempt is up. Completion percentage is up. Passer rating is up. As a matter of fact, Jalen Hurts is top 5, the Eagles that is, top 5 in the NFL in passer rating. And Jalen Hurts ended the season being ranked top 5 in the NFL in passer rating with a 103.7. 103.7. So, again, Jalen Hurts may not be your fantasy darling anymore. He may not be your fantasy darling anymore, but Jalen Hurts has become an efficient quarterback with this running game. And when you got a guy like Saquon rushing for over 2,000 yards, I'm sorry, man. That's an anomaly that you got to feed. But regardless, though, I can't really convince anybody if you feel how you feel about it. You know what I mean? My man, I'm going to get to these super chats, then we getting out of here, man. Normally, these shows be an hour, but I was feeling it today, and I was having fun with you guys. So, my man, B Moore with the $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. He says, Tone, Shady is an Andy guy, and we still love him. LA ain't ready for what's getting ready to happen. I'm riding what hurts. We win 34-17. We on fire, Tone. No pun intended, B Moore. But, Shady's an Andy guy. He's an Andy guy more than, in my opinion, he's an Andy guy more than he is an Eagles guy. That's my opinion. But Benjamin Moore, you're right. You're right. Thank you for super chat, be more. I appreciate it. And last but not least, my man Philip Thomas with the $20 super chat. Thank you, Philip. I really do appreciate this. He says fans need to know that Jalen is not only efficient, he plays exceptionally well when it comes to situational football. And to be honest, I've seen Brady have games like Jalen and still win. Listen, man, and I'm not ever going to compare him to Brady, but Philip Thomas, ultimately, you are right. Jalen Hurts is an efficient quarterback. He doesn't turn the ball over. Listen, he's never going to be that guy that's throwing for over 300 yards every week. He's not. He's not. And the thing is, people have a hard time accepting Jalen for who he is. They keep comparing him to other quarterbacks. Critique the quarterback that you have. people get so caught up pocket watching other quarterbacks, you know? And the reality is Jalen Hurts he is who he is. And quite frankly, he wins football games. And last time I checked, Philadelphia, we are a lot happier when we're winning than we are when we're losing. Philip Thomas, thank you for the super chat. You guys, thank you so much for making this live stream what it is, man. We've had an illustrious show. There was a point in time, I think, where we had over 400 people in this live stream. You guys have been spectacular. Real quick, though, we have 260 people in the live stream. We got 289 likes. You guys, if you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do me the favor, do me the justice of hitting that like button, you guys. Let's try to get 300 likes, you guys. We're 10 likes away. We're 10 likes away from 300 likes, you guys. We need 9 more. 9 more likes, you guys. Come on. If you haven't hit that like button yet, let's do it. We're almost there. We need 7 more likes, you guys. 7 more. We're almost there. Keep pushing that button. You know, in the meantime, I want to remind you guys that if you're not watching the show live, I'm very much grateful for your support as well. And make sure you guys hit the like button. And also, if you guys can't catch it live, you can always double back on the YouTube channel. You can always check me out on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. The show is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And you know, Spotify has added that video feature. You know, you can watch videos now on Spotify, which is pretty dope. So you can watch the whole show on Spotify, listen, whatever you want to do, or do it on Apple Podcasts, or double back on YouTube. My goal was to make the show as accessible to people as possible. Some people need their hands to be free because of the work they do. Some people like to lock their phone, put their headphones on, and put the show in their pocket so they ain't gotta, again, hands free, right? YouTube kind of makes that difficult. So I wanted to make sure we took care of you guys on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts so you can listen to the show and watch the show hands free and make sure you're still being productive. So there you have it, you guys. We have reached our goal and some. We were able to reach 310 likes, you guys. Thank you guys so much for doing what you do. Also, thank you guys for donating to the channel. It means a lot to me. You guys are truly, truly one of one. You guys are the best supporters in the world. I don't take it for granted. So there's our show, you guys. We are facing the Rams on Sunday. Eagles versus Rams at Lincoln Financial Field. I'm telling you right now, you guys. I'm telling you. The Rams, they had a good game last night. They did their job last night. But we know what happened last time they had to face Cam Jurgens and Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson and Mekhi Becton and Saquon Barkley. We knew what happened last time they had to face Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and Smitty. We knew what happened last time when they had to run up against our bullies in the trenches. We knew what happened last time. So all I'm saying is the way we playing right now, the way that Eagles team was able to set the tone against the Green Bay Packers, we're playing bully ball. We're not playing softball. The Philadelphia Eagles are playing bully ball. And it's straight like that. I've been your humble host, Tone DeShields II. And you guys have been tuned in to Chalk It Up Sports, where no matter if we win or if we lose, we just got to charge it to the game